You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you. It's Tuesday night. It's a little after 9 p.m. Where else would you rather be, Steelers fans? And with me, as always, except when he's not, we're all ready for it again, Rich. How's it going tonight, big bro?
I will just take one moment and breathe in that mile-high air of a Steelers victory in Denver.
Oh, the mile high air. Yeah, that was. I talked about it a little bit on standard time last
or as it is here, as you are well aware of, because you used to play there, Half Mile High Stadium.
Yeah. Our high school, they called it Half Mile High Stadium because of its elevation. But I said on Pittsburgh Standard Time last week, I'm like, you realize I didn't realize till I looked up the numbers that I've been in the highest international airport in the world. It's the highest capital of a country in the world. It's almost 12,000 feet. And dude, it was just hard to just sit there. And that's why I'm saying I'm not ever going to knock anyone that says they have a problem with elevation, because now granted that was really extreme, but I was also only what was I, 18, 19, and 21 years old the three times I was there. Yep. Crazy. So, yeah, it's a real thing. If you've never been to that high of elevation, trust me, it definitely can affect you. But we're not here to make excuses, are we, big bro? Because we're here to talk about, what?
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So you don't get fined. You're here so you don't get fined. My thing is, the whole topic of this show tonight. Now, don't take this the wrong way. We're not saying that there is no reason to have concerns about parts of the Pittsburgh Steelers game.
There's the show right there.
There's my sentence. I gotta say what the title of the show is. That regardless of how well the Steelers have been playing, and if you're not happy with how well the Steelers, particularly their offense, has been playing, you have to remember they can't be any better than 2-0 right now. Even if they played better, they still would be 2-0. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They would be.
Yes. So you've still got to take that for what it's worth. So yes, the Steelers have things they need to improve on. They are not running away for that. They are staring at the face of it. They are tackling that issue. My goodness, Coach Tomlin even said today, normally they bring in refs on Fridays to help at practice. Not this week. They're there every day this week because it's something they've got to get cleaned up. They have other things they have to get cleaned up. But if I were to tell you, let's say, how many months do we want to go back? Let's go back 6 months. Before we knew the schedule, before we knew free agency, before we knew everything else, if I were to tell you, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they didn't have their starting quarterback for the first 2 weeks of the season, and they're 2-0. That's something that you would have to be like, I would take that. And you know what? We do need to take that. So while, yes, it's not bad to reflect on what needs to be improved, you also have to realize that what you're doing has been good enough so far. And when has it become a problem? When it's no longer good enough. That's why you got to keep striving to improve it. So go ahead, Rich. What was that you brought up? I missed it.
It was. Hold on, now I got to go back to it. There you go.
Okay. Urban Wedge says, "Are we all feeling optimistic, or did the second half and the way it played out on Sunday leave you feeling a little drained of enthusiasm? Think I'm the latter, but not that I'm complaining at being 2-0." Yeah.
I love the last part. Not that I'm complaining about being 2-0. And that's what comes down to. You can't complain about being 2-0. You're 2-0. You're the only team in the AFC North that can say that.
Yes.
You've opened the season 2-0. You haven't played a home game yet.
Yeah.
I mean,
somewhere that's like only the 10th time that's happened where a team has opened with 2 games on the road and they won both.
Did you see I commented? Jeff put that in the Slack channel or something, and I was like, that is a great stat.
That is a great stat.
It really, yeah.
Well, because teams don't often start with 2 games on the road. That's a rarity.
Correct.
So even when but it's not like it's impossible, because obviously the Steelers did it. I'd have to look and see if there are any other teams that started with 2 games on the road so far.
Yeah, so it says the Steelers only the 10th team since 2014 to start the season with a 2-0 record with both wins on the road.
Yeah. Since what year?
2014.
2014. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's a great stat. One, because a lot of teams don't open up with 2 on the road, but man, it's it's saying something. If you really would have thought about it and said the Steelers are going to play their first 2 games on the road, and you would have taken the bet, the over under, or whatever bet.
Oh, that would have been I would have got great odds on that one from DraftKings if that was what I could have done. Man, correct. I don't know that they let you parlay from 1 week to the next. I would have parlayed the Steelers on the money line for the first 2 weeks. That would have been a nice little wager. So
your odds. The odds of them putting down that the Steelers will go 2-0 playing first 2 week games on the road. That number would have been small. The small chance of them of folks thinking that could actually happen, and it happened. So, a win is a win is a win.
Yep. Here, I got another one here. Brian Morrow says, or Morrow. I don't know if I would say Morrow. We'll say that. And I was upset after the game because the second half offense, but by Monday I was stoked to be 2-0. The offense should get better as the season goes on, and the defense could be special. Here we go. Well, I know it says "here we go," but I know he meant "here we go."
Yeah. Okay. So Dave, that leads me to a question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Because it's one we've talked about before. But
should you ask me the question, or should I hit up the question? Or should I real quick, briefly? Did you see the roster moves today?
Do the roster moves real quick, then I'll ask you.
I think your question is something we're going to be talking a good bit about the way you're setting me up here. So real quick. Tyler Medikevich went on IR. That was
disappointing after that massive hit in the game the other day.
Yeah, and Coach Tomlin was saying in his press conference, I don't have any information. He's being evaluated right now, but he even specifically mentioned him as a guy that hey, he wouldn't have to practice early in the week, but if he shows up late in the week and can play, he's someone you can still put out there because of his experience. But Coach Tomlin said, he's being evaluated right now. And apparently that evaluation of his hamstring was not good, enough to keep him out at least 4 games. He goes on IR. They did not add another player to the 53-man roster. They did add 2 players to the practice squad, cornerback James Pierre, back, and another defensive back. It's another Deshaun, I'm pretty sure. Why is the name escaping me? Deshaun Jameson, that's what it was. Who played in like 15 games for the Panthers last year. So they obviously had to release 2 players from the practice squad. One other thing about that is Coach Tomlin did say today that wide receiver Ben Skoranek is dealing with a shoulder injury. We won't know anything about that throughout the week because he's on the practice squad. He was just elevated the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
So he doesn't have to show up on the injury report. And he had one of the best special teams grades this past week. They couldn't block him. All they could do was have a penalty because they couldn't stop him. He was doing phenomenal as a gunner.
He was.
So I think that's part of the whole James Pierre thing coming in in case Skoranek's not available. But honestly, I think if Skoranek is available, he earned a spot on the 53 if they don't have anything else that they're going to fill it because he's done a nice job.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about all those moves? Yeah.
Other than what I told you before, that now we're back to playing Madden football.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, you got to say it.
If folks never caught this particular Pittsburgh Dad episode, I love it. It was my favorite line ever, playing Madden football. He said, "Yeah, see that guy there with that yellow circle under James Pierre? That's Pierre."
You gotta love bathroom humor.
Yes,
That's
you do.
why it's a yellow circle.
Yep.
Because it's
That's
Pierre.
because it's
Oh,
Pierre.
my goodness.
So, no, Pierre makes sense actually to go get because he's played so well the past couple of years for us as a gunner, and if that's an area of need, you get that onto your practice squad because you may need it.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, that position. Having really good gunners on the punt team has been really important to the Steelers the past several years.
Yes.
And they've had some really good ones.
And Pierre was one of them.
Yes, he was.
So I understand that their gunners were doing well. But if you're worried about one not being available, that's not a bad guy to have on the practice squad. You know him. He can go right in. So,
Yep.
All right. Why don't you ask the question even before we get into Super Chat? I can save that for later. We'll get you. We'll get you there, Steel Dog.
Right.
But you had something you wanted to something I could tell you were going to challenge me with something I was going to have to talk for a while.
I am not necessarily going to have to talk for a while, but it's going to lead us down a whole other area. It's going to really lead to some discussion, I think. So
Okay.
All right, Dave, we've asked this question before, and I'm going to ask it again. Do style points matter?
That is a great question that really deserves a Dave answer. Are you ready for the ultimate Dave answer?
Yes, because I believe it or not, I think I know what the Dave answer is going to be, which is what actually is going to lead me into the discussion.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Style points don't matter for the past or present. They only make you feel better about the future.
Okay.
You don't get style points. The style points don't matter when it comes to your record. Your record is your record. The style in which you win and the style in which you lose do not matter when it comes to your record. But it does affect how you feel about things going forward in the future.
Yeah, great. Good answer. Because it leads me into this. This came up. Kyle pulled something up. I don't know if he was on Instagram or something today. And
Okay.
he was sitting in my office and he's like, "Hey, they have this thing up about all these national media guys on pretenders or contenders or pretenders." And they were looking at the 2-0 teams and were they contenders or pretenders. And Kyle brought up just two teams in particular. Of course, he brought up the Steelers because we're Steeler fans and that's what we do. And the answer on the Steelers was that the Steelers are pretenders. Mm-hmm. Okay? And Kyle's like, I'm not totally sure why they necessarily say that, but at the same time, then when he got to looking at the fact that the New Orleans Saints, who are also 2-0, were listed as contenders.
Ooh, I know why.
Okay, why?
Because this was probably with the talking heads and every way, and people like to look at football, is that they only consider you a contender if you're an elite offense, not if you're an elite defense.
And yes, although I got to thinking about that, I decided and I thought about some things in a different way. And it's what I think can really lead to some discussion here. Okay? Not even the fact that they're thinking them as an elite offense, right? If you would have asked that after week one, you'd have said, well, New Orleans, they went in and sure they ran up some score and bullied around on the Panthers. Big whoop. It's the Panthers. Okay. But then they turned around and did kind of the same thing in the second week. Went into Dallas and did it.
Into Dallas. That was the key.
Into Dallas and did it there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to thinking. If there is one, I don't know if I want to call it a fault. If there is one criticism or irk that I have about Coach Tomlin, it is that Coach Tomlin, as much as you love him because you say at the end, push comes to shove, Coach Tomlin's worried about really wins and losses. Wins and losses. That's what he's worried about. But to me, there comes a point where a win with some style points matters. And it's because of the word that I just used that the Saints pulled on the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? They didn't just go into Dallas and beat Dallas. They went into Dallas and they bullied them.
They bullied them. Yeah, there you go.
They bullied them. Okay? The Steelers win a lot of games, but we don't really bully teams in a way you'd like to think. We bully teams defensively. We bullied Denver on Sunday. Defensively. But we go
the Falcons, yeah.
We go very once the Steelers get a lead, we go very conservative on the offensive side of the football. We are still playing the, hey, offense, don't mess it up. The defense can hold it from here. You're good.
Yeah.
Right? And there comes a point in time where I'll say it goes beyond even the national media guys. It goes times with our fans, okay? How would everybody feel right now if the Steelers, instead of winning that game 13-6, would have come out in the second half, put up the same type of offensive numbers they did in the first half, which in the end could have potentially led to a defensive score come in the second half, because you'd have pushed Denver to have to try to do even more offensively than they were trying to do, right? And in doing that, you potentially force them into more mistakes, because that's what a bully does.
Yeah.
If you're bullying a team around, not only are you imposing your will on them, but you're making it to the point where they're having to try to do things they really don't want to have to do, which then allows your defense to potentially feast on them even more and potentially put defensive points on the board.
Yeah.
We as fans, I think, are dying to see a game like that, where the Steelers just impose their will offensively and defensively against the team and just utterly embarrass them.
Yes.
I think that's what we've been missing for several years from this team.
But the question is,
now,
is that
yes.
the goal? Or is the goal, or wait a second. This is the question I really have to ask.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Yeah.
Do you play to embarrass? Do you play to bully? Or do you play to win? Because this isn't college. This isn't a team winning like 30-something or 40-something to nothing against a no-name team in the third quarter and doing an onside kick. Yeah, that happened this past week. Okay? Because you have to bully and you have to win those games by a bunch. That's not how it works.
Now, you don't have to, right? But Kyle brought up to me then a great point, okay? What do you think it could do for the psyche of the Steelers offense?
Yeah.
To have a game where the coaching staff doesn't say we're going to take the air out of the ball and we're just going to hold on and get the W. They actually say, offense, go ahead, go out there, and if you guys think you can play up to, get out there, pad the stats up a little bit, have some fun, and build your confidence.
Mm-hmm. That would go a long way.
Yeah.
I think it really would.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, it would make the fans feel way better too. But I don't know. I know that's not the goal. But I do think it would really help the confidence of the offense. But at the same time, what is Coach Tomlin's one of his main lines? We do not seek comfort. Does he really want his offense? Sometimes having too much confidence, he feels you could be comfortable. I don't think it would be a good reason to not do that, but at the same time, that you got to take it into consideration.
My thought is, if you're not willing to actually straight up bully a team here and there,
Yeah.
it's why you haven't won in the playoffs in forever.
I think you're right. And honestly, I thought at halftime that was the bully chance.
Yes, I did too. I saw it
felt
coming.
I just felt like it was a game that the Steelers just had in hand. They were up 10-0. They were really up 14-0 because that was an awful offensive pass interference call.
Yep.
Let alone,
even Gene Territor said that was a bad call.
Yes. It was funny because it was Nick Faribault, who I communicate with some, with various things. He had put something out there like, "Oh yeah, that was kind of an obvious call," and I responded, said Territor hated it. Said the defense is the one who actually drew the contact. He was just trying to run his route. And Nick deleted his tweet then after I said that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So we would have felt much better at 14-0 at halftime, and I think that would have even. And that's not even the long. Oh my goodness, was that not an amazing throw that got called back? The throw itself was like,
yes.
If that's the kind of stuff you can get from Justin Fields all the time,
we need to try to
doubt who your quarterback would be.
That, and we just need to. I feel need to take a few more of those types of shots because I think they can be made.
Yeah. So we'll get into the quarterback stuff a little bit. We still have the super chat for that. But when it comes to this whole idea of the Steelers can't be any better than 2-0, the style points and everything else, it can actually really help in a good way. But I think for someone who doesn't live in his fears, I think Coach Tomlin, you might not want to call it a fear. You could even call it maybe an over healthy respect for the altitude in Denver.
No,
you know what I mean?
He
That's
doesn't.
the whole reason they did the tackle rotation thing, because he was worried about Fautanu's conditioning. Didn't know if he was well enough conditioned, especially in that environment. But then again, this is the coach that had to say, Ryan Clark, you can't come. You have to stay home. So there's a reason for him to have a healthy respect for it. But it might have been a little bit too much.
I don't want to say Coach Tomlin lives in his fears when it comes to his offense. I think what it is what happens at times with Coach Tomlin is that he lives in his tendencies.
Yes.
Okay? And Coach Tomlin's tendency is to, once you get the lead, if you have more than a one-score lead, so if you are up more than 8 points, you go conservative.
No, okay. I want you to remember that line. I want you to repeat it when we come back here from a break, because we got to get a couple words in from a couple of sponsors that we have special for SCN. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry. Relax.
All right, we're going to relax. We're not going to worry. The Steelers are 2-0, Big Bro. So what was the last line you said again? Do you remember it now?
Yeah, I was saying Coach Tomlin doesn't live in his fears, but he sometimes lives in his tendency. Okay. His tendency is, once you're up 2 scores, take the air out of the ball, play conservative on offense, let your defense keep trying to do its thing, and not worry unless it gets back within 1 score.
Okay. Now, so you expanded on it a little bit more because you kind of hit on what I wanted to say.
Okay.
What does Coach Tomlin really want to do? He wants to lean on the strength of his team.
Yes.
What is the strength of this team?
TJ Watt.
And company, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
Yes.
Now, here's something that's interesting. People are upset with things going for the Steelers and that their offense isn't producing them enough and everything else. But my goodness, You're like, they've only averaged 15.5 points through 2 games. That's very true. But when you're only surrendering 8, you're not going to get behind by 10
Yeah.
because you're only giving up 8, you
Yep.
know? Now, I will be 100% honest with you. I feel that the Steelers offense could do more if forced to. We just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, even against Atlanta, they were right there. They didn't have to get away from their game plan. They were never out of reach until they took the lead and continued to roll with it and let the defense continue to dominate through that second half. The question is, and this is what Steelers fans are worried about, can you just turn it on? We don't know because we haven't seen it yet.
Correct.
The thing is, are we going to eventually find out? Yes. Could that even be this week? Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of how things are set up right now, which we'll get to when we start looking forward more to this week. My thing is, I don't have a huge amount of confidence based on what I've seen that if the Steelers offense had to, they could. That's the question. If they had to, could they? Because we don't have any data. All we have is hope. So we can hope that they can. Would Justin Fields step up? Would Justin Fields turn into a turnover machine? We don't know.
Not only do we have hope, but you also see that there is that ever famous P word that Jeff hates to use that he used.
Yes.
I heard him use it. I about had a heart attack. I was like, "Oh, come on, Elizabeth," you know, because but you see the potential, there in the offense, but it's another one of those. It's like, well, potential is just potential until you see it.
Is it another one of those things? You know what? We're not going to unwrap that until we have to, and honestly, they haven't had to. And you can complain that the Steelers offense needs to do more, should do more. If they take more chances, could you get better offensive production? Yes. If they take more chances, could you get
Mistakes,
turnovers and losing that advantage that you've had? Yes.
Yes.
We just don't know because right now it's like, why have to do more when what we're doing has been getting the job done?
Yep.
And let's wait and do more until we have to. It's kind of like this. Let's see if I can think about this for a little bit. Now I've completely lost where I was going to go. I was going to try to find a nice little analogy for it, unless you have one.
You continue to think about your analogy. I'm just going to circle this all the way back and bring it all the way back around kind of to where I started. Okay. So when it comes back to that question you see of contender or pretender, okay, in the end, what I'm saying is, I don't want to say that I'm okay with, but I understand with why especially a lot of guys in the national media and everything right now would list the Steelers as pretenders. I get it. I understand why. They haven't seen, because again, you can say, well, style points or this, that. No. The other thing they haven't seen is they haven't really seen the Steelers on both sides of the football line up and smack somebody in the mouth.
Yes.
Because they haven't had to.
They haven't had to.
Just like you said. So I am going to say that I will be, I guess the word I'll use is understanding, or I'm not going to sit here constantly then and argue against where folks in the national media or even people sitting out here in our live chat, that are Steeler fans could say that we're, look, I get it and I understand where that thought process is coming from, even if I do not 100% agree with it.
Yes. All right. Now, I'm not going to give the analogy. Here's why. The one that popped into my head is so nerdy that people aren't going to want to hear it. So I just better not do it. It's a physics analogy. So I should probably
just one favor. Don't lose it, because after the show's done, I want you to tell it to me.
After the show. Because it's just one of those things. You only do as much as you have to. But remember, what were the what were some of the complaints of some of the Steelers fans going into this season? Oh, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they spend all this money on defense and not on offense. What do you expect? Well, if they have the most expensive defense in the league and the least expensive offense in the league, how would you expect them to turn out? To be a team that's led by offense or a team that's led by defense?
Right.
So they're doing exactly what they put their money where their mouth is. They've done that exactly. And so now, what do you have? You have a team that is ranked second in points surrendered in the NFL. The only team that surrendered less points is actually who comes to Acrisure on Sunday. Okay, so they're second in points, but in offense, they're 26th in points, which is better than dead last, which is what they are when it comes to spending. Now, I will tell you they're 30th in yards. But yeah, they're 26th in points. You're like, really? They're 26th in points? What's interesting is you hear some of these offenses that have scored less points than the Steelers are usually teams that now granted, a lot of them are 0-2, or one of them's 1-1, but they're teams that you would expect to have more of an offense. Like, they've scored more points than the Rams, the Dolphins, the Jaguars. So they're not the only team that this is happening to.
Yeah.
But the Steelers you're not getting much points from the Rams, the Dolphins, or the Jaguars. And they've needed them because they've lost. I mean, the Dolphins are 1-1, but the Rams and Jaguars are 0-2. That they've even been trying to score more points and haven't been able to. So sometimes you got to keep a little bit of those things in perspective. So, yeah.
All right. Just a couple of fun points I want to bring up about the game from Sunday, if you're cool with that.
Wait. Yes, I want to get to specifically talk about the game after we hit the super chat because I don't want to miss it.
Yes.
Steel Dog 88, $5 into the tip jar. This will help transition us into something else here. Good stuff here. Thank you very much, Steel Dog 88. It says, if Justin Fields now let's see if I can read it. If Justin Fields continues to build confidence and plays well, is the plan to still start Russ? I know what Tomlin said, no hypotheticals. We don't have to listen to what Tomlin said. We can answer this if we want to, bro. So if Justin Fields,
I can tell you this right now. Right now, if Russell Wilson was 100% healthy and ready to go this week, he would be the starter.
Yes. If he was entering the week as a full participant in practice, we already know Coach Tomlin told us today that he is not scheduled to be a full participant tomorrow. So that right there tells you that goes advantage Fields. Now, there's reports that from Jerry Dulac said that they were going to give him the next two games, which this would be the second game. This was going to go a long way, in my opinion, to showing what Justin Fields can do. So we'll get into that a little bit more. So to me, I think your circumstances are giving you a chance to gather more data. And based on that data, you will then get to make a better decision. So I'm sorry if that doesn't perfectly answer your question, Steel Dog, but that's just kind of, if Russ was 100% healthy going into this week, that is the tough question. And I think you're right. I think that's what they would do. But I think they know he isn't. And my goodness, people are still saying that he was pushing a blocking sled. The reports that came out that he wasn't pushing a blocking sled. It was some other kind of thing that wasn't specifically, like I think of the big 5-man or 7-man sleds that you had to go out and push on the push in high school and stuff like that. Or the 1-man stick that's really, really heavy that you got to hit and lift up. Apparently, that's not what it was. I didn't get a good report of what it was, but I do know that people are reporting that it's something that it wasn't. Anyway, anything else you want to say about that? Or are you ready to just hit some more stuff from this past game?
I'm ready to just hit a couple things from the past game. So,
all right. So where do you want to start?
First of all, was glad to see that mine, yours, and Jeff's reactions all matched up perfectly on the touchdown pass
As soon as he went up motion, you're like,
I saw
"You
the
better
motion.
throw this to him."
I saw the motion.
Well-
saw that he was going to be. Saw that old Mount Washington was going to be, matched up against the corner, and thought as soon as I saw that in the motion, you got to throw it to him. You
Okay, now-
got to give him the chance to make the play against the much smaller player.
I have to self-correct. I said the wrong thing. I said he went in motion. Technically, he didn't go in motion. Motion is when you are moving and you continue to move at the snap of the ball. He shifted.
He was reset. Yeah, shifted.
Yes, reset
Yes.
or shifted is a great way to say it. Where he was inside and they moved him outside, and I know the angle didn't help, but that I saw somewhere on social media a still of that little teeny tiny corner lined up across from him,
I know.
and it's like, was there any doubt whether or not you should throw him the ball there? That's his first red zone target.
I know that was crazy as well. The guys played. That's interesting because I was talking with my coworker Drew today, who is the Jaguars fan.
He's a Jaguars fan. Yeah.
And he's just a Jag. So, and I can say that because he in no way will listen to this,
Yeah.
but he knows I call him a Jag anyway.
Yeah.
So, I told him, and he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "About time they threw it to him there." I looked at him. I said, "Drew." He's like, "Yes." I said, "That was his first red zone target." He was like, "This year?" I said, "No."
Ever in the
Ever.
NFL. Yeah.
To which he was like, "Well, he's got a pretty good percentage then, doesn't he?"
Yeah. Well, but not only that, now think about this. It's not like they have used good old Mount Washington much this season. He's 2 for 2. He's
Yeah.
been targeted twice, and he's caught them both. He is on pace to have 1.0 targets per game, which would be a big upgrade from the 0.59 per game he had last year.
Yeah.
So no, I think you're going to start to see that generally increase with Washington, because I think he's going to create what we're wanting to see, where you bring in a package showing you're going to do one thing and then you're going to do another, which is kind of what they did with that touchdown of having him lined in there to block, because he's been phenomenal doing that. And then let's put him out wide and say, try to guard him. I mean, that was just a pure read. Let's see who they're going to put on him. And if they put the right person on him out there, they might have been able to do something else. I mean, my goodness, if they would have pulled a linebacker or something out there, maybe that was a good spot for Justin Fields to take off. I don't know what they would have done.
Right.
But that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. Now, then I'll also bring up, because really, the first half, really, the offense was playing really well, right?
Yeah.
Except for
The penalties.
the Hankies.
Yeah.
Um,
And there were
And-
more of them in the first half than in the second half, believe it or not.
Yes. And so you stop and think. Okay, we talked about, the offense didn't really then in the second half get the opportunity to blow that game open. They actually, if you really stop and think about it, missed their opportunity to do that in the first half.
Yes.
They did.
Yeah.
Because when you think the Steelers...
Then you would have
and-
seen it even be more conservative in the second half than it even was. Okay, go ahead.
Actually, no, I don't.
They'd have been up 21-0. Oh my goodness, you would have seen. Yeah, you would have really seen.
Not that you'd have seen it conservative, because see what I can see happening here is eventually is that even though this, because think back to some of these Steeler teams, Dave, when I say this, because you're going to be able to tell me some specific teams on this. If your offense gets another, let's say they score another touchdown in that first half, and you've got a 17 to whatever it was, 17-0 lead at the half. When you come out in the second half and you go conservative, and you run the ball more, and you throw some, I'll even call
safe
them
passes.
Safe passes. They can be some fun plays, but they're safe, right? You think some of those plays maybe start to turn out differently for the Steelers in the second half if you're up 17-0? Sure, because it happens the same way there that it happens. I was talking about happening to the Steelers defensively. Saying, hey, maybe the defense gets a score because you get the team having to take more chances or doing things. It works the same way the other way around. If you're up 17-0 there, you probably have the opportunity to potentially have Denver trying some more, trying to come up with a big play defensively and maybe catch them in a run blitz where they're blitzing an A gap and you're not running it in that A gap, you're running it elsewhere, and you break off a couple really nice runs or things like that. The whole thing could have played out differently. So to me, the Steelers' missed opportunity there on offense was when they started with the ball after the one punt at their 1 yard line. And they start driving the ball, and then they start going the wrong direction.
Yeah, that
was the missed. That was the missed
Jones drive.
Yes, and that was the missed opportunity because they were driving the ball well, but then the penalties took them out of having any chance of coming away with any kind of points there then. Yeah. And that's a drive that if they could have kept going and produced a touchdown on, that whole second half probably looks a lot different.
Yeah.
The Steelers probably end up winning that game 24 or even 27 or something to 3.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I mean, I could have seen it playing out that way, but you know what? It didn't. It didn't. So we're going with what the Steelers did. And I'll be honest with you, outside of the penalties, which you can't just take them away.
Right.
It's not that Broderick Jones played that terrible outside of the penalties. It's just the penalties were by far the biggest factor. It's not like, he was terrible, and then he got these penalties. No, the penalties is what made it terrible. That's what made it terrible. It's not that it was great. It was average. And then the penalties just made it crash. Fautano, I thought, played well. I tell you what, Denver's defense looked much better in the second half. They did. So, and the Steelers' offense didn't look as good.
And if you look at Denver's defense and think their defense is solid, it really is.
Yeah, but also we talked about the conservativeness, not the conservative, the safeness of the Steelers' offense in the second half. If the other team across the state had the same philosophy as Mike Tomlin, they would probably also be sitting at 2-0.
Yep. You're right.
At times we want to go for it. We want to put in the dagger, finish him, in Mortal Kombat style. We want to twist in the dagger and all that stuff. And that's what the Eagles did last night. And they dropped the easy pass.
Yeah.
And they gave the Falcons too much time. So much time, the Eagles almost had time to respond. So it would have been close if they'd had enough time or not, based on if another 40 seconds came off the clock when they scored with, I think, 34 left. But you've got to remember that. But at the same time, how many times would be upset with Tomlin? You could have maybe thrown the ball and just put them away. And instead you ran it to take the 40 seconds. Well, it's always a trade-off. And so I'm just putting that out there to show it. I bet you if they had it to do over again, I bet you Coach, Sirianni didn't sleep well last night and was probably thinking of that play over and over and over in his head all night, because that's just the way it goes. So other things from that game, I thought the defense was great. I'm tired of, because I did my PFF article today where I tell you how I thought they did with their grades. And like I say, just because some of their grades are bad doesn't mean they all are, but you've got to get them all right if you're going to give grades. You can't do it and be wrong. Imagine me as a teacher with 20 students and I just got 4 kids' scores completely wrong on their tests. I would be a terrible teacher. Okay? If that's what you're going to do, if that's the business you're in of grading, you got to get them all right. And they don't. I mean, my goodness, they still have Jalen Warren as a terrible pass blocker. Did you see the pickup he had on that touchdown throw?
I did.
That was nice. You know,
Yes, it
they have
was.
Joey Porter Jr. with a terrible coverage score. That's just not right. It's just you're judging your standard of judgment on what you do on a play is flawed when good plays can still be graded poorly. So that's just some of those things. But like you said, I still think Joey Porter Jr. Yeah, did he have a bunch of penalties called? Yes. Were any of them actually enforced? No, they weren't. They were all offsetting, weren't they? Or were they? Or one of them declined? I don't know. But well, yeah, one of them was declined because they completed the pass anyway.
Yeah.
So there's definitely stuff to clean up. There really is. But once again, I thought the defense did a solid job. Some people who don't pay attention to the game are going to complain about certain players that are actually playing pretty well. Cam Hayward is playing really well. He has been a beast against the run, but it doesn't stand out in a flashy way.
He's doing just what the Steelers tend to ask their defensive tackles to do. You know, when it's Cam, you know, well, I think of them really as a 3-man rotation. Cam, Larry, and
Keanu Benton, who had a really good game.
Okay,
He was the second highest defensive scorer.
I really look at the three of them as a 3-man rotation. There are times they're all three on the field, but not that often. Their jobs are to, I'll just say, just hold the line. That's what they're to do.
Yeah.
Don't give ground. Hold the line. Plug up.
Let the guys
plug up
behind
the
you
run.
come up and make plays.
Exactly. And let me tell you what, those guys, they are not getting blown off the ball. That's where Cam Hayward, say what you want. He is holding the line. And actually, Larry O, I thought, was doing a really nice job of holding the line. I mean, there were a couple times.
He was going up against. Yeah. Anyway,
There were a couple times where it was just like, wow, we held the line of scrimmage right where it started. We just didn't let them move us at all. Mm-hmm. That's what we asked those guys to do, because then that allows, TJ and Alex Highsmith and Landon Roberts and the guys back there to then make the plays they make. Those big guys up front, their job is to do the grunt work and let the splash guys make the splash.
yeah.
And they're doing their job. They're doing their job to let those guys make the splash.
Yes, I'm gonna bring something up. Get on my soapbox for about 30 seconds. Mark Tobin, I know he's probably doing this to get me riled up, which is fine because Mark's a great commenter we have here. Says we got a lot on the line, giving him another contract. Talking about Cam. No, they don't. They have nothing on the line. There's zero on the line because they didn't give him any new money. $0 more than what he was going to get this year anyway. All Cam is getting is what he was getting this year anyway, and they can release him when the season is over, and it's just like they did nothing. It's exactly like they did nothing, except they got to lower the cap this year, and it would roll into next year. But guess what? It's the same amount of dollars. It's just whether you pushed it in the future or not. And right now the Steelers aren't even spending it, so it's there to pay for next year. And honestly, next year's better because it would be a lower percentage of the cap because the cap goes up.
Yep.
So there is nothing on the line with what they did with Cam. It's not like they gave him a big signing bonus that was more than what he was going to earn. It was the exact. He is only earning this year what he was already set to earn this year with his last contract. All they did was give him a base salary for 2 years rather than add 2 void years, and they get to decide if that's what they want to do after the year is over. It is really, it's not even a prove-it contract. Because a prove-it contract would mean you would get paid more if you did really well. He's not even doing that. He's going to be getting paid less next year than what he made per year on his last deal. So it really is nothing on the line for that. So I just wanted to make sure I clarified that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a man.
No, it isn't, Mark. We saved money this year that they could go out and trade for someone if they want to, that they wouldn't have had otherwise. They saved that money for this year.
Mark must have missed the show where we really sat and went through all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like this. Honestly, right now, for what we are spending with Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward a few years ago was having to be one of the guys making the splash, right?
Yeah.
We needed Cam to be making splash. And right now, I'm okay with the money. Like, as you said, technically we could walk away. Whatever we're set to pay Cam next year is just whatever we're set to pay him.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not a cap hit if we get rid of him or he walked away or anything like that. There's no cap hit. I'm okay with what we're set to pay Cam next year if Cam is doing just what he's doing now. Him, Benton, and Ogunjobi just holding the line and allowing the other splash guys to make the splash plays.
Yeah.
That's all you need from, and Cam Hayward is a smart enough guy to understand, probably at this point in his career, hey, I don't have to make the splash. I'm still more than capable of holding up that line and letting those splash guys make the splash.
Yes.
And he continues to then be able to play, be able to bring a paycheck, even though it's not a massive paycheck. Okay? It's still more money than you or I make,
Yes.
But, and he is okay with it. I think the Steelers are okay. Everybody's okay with it. So, all right, enough of that.
Yes. I'm going to ask you one last thing about this past game because then I'm going to mention a couple things about the one coming up before we get to our scores. And that is this. How do you feel about the whole notion of a tackle rotation? Offensive tackle rotation. I mean, they do it on defense all the time.
Yes. Not a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
Because an offensive line needs what? Continuity. Continuity is what they need, and it can be very difficult. The other thing is it's really hard as an offensive lineman, I would imagine, it's bad enough if somebody gets injured and you're coming into a game cold. Yeah. But then you're coming into the game, you might be coming into the game kind of cold, and it's going to take you a few plays or a series to really get your footing under you. But you're already in the mentality of, I am playing the rest of this game.
Yeah.
If you're in a rotation, you're not either of those things. You're not warm. You're constantly coming in trying to regain your footing, and you're not in the mindset that you're playing the rest of the game. You're in a rotation. It's just different. So I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yes. And that's the thing is, if it was my choice at the professional level, I wouldn't do it. Like I said, when Jeff and I talked about it on the Source podcast, because I mentioned that was a possibility of what the media was talking about when we did the Source podcast that Tomlin was going to start. Well, what did that mean for Broderick Jones? And that's why we had the discussion. I said, that's something I did coaching at the freshman level because I had guys that I wanted to get an opportunity to play some because they were doing a good job in practice, things of that nature. But that's about developing people. Now, that's also what's going on with these two young tackles. They are trying to develop them. I don't know that this is the best way. I personally wouldn't do it, but I also see the reasoning behind it. And I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people forget. And I haven't told this to Jeff yet because this will be interesting for him. You know who rotated for the first 2 years of their career on the offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers? That would be Hall of Fame center Mike Webster.
Yeah.
Him and Ray Mansfield rotated.
Correct.
They did it by quarter. Mansfield got the first and third, and Webster got the second and fourth.
It was actually a lot more common.
Yeah.
In the 60s and 70s that happened.
Yeah. So it's not crazy. I personally still wouldn't do it, but it's not as crazy as what some people are making it out to be.
Yeah.
And what I said in the postgame show, kudos for the Steelers to identifying that it wasn't working and we weren't going to go back and try it again this game. So
Correct.
that's
That's what I like too. It wasn't a hey, we made a decision that we were gonna do this. We're gonna live or die with it. It was a
Yes.
yep, nope. It was a good idea, but right now it's not working. We're getting away from it.
Yes, and the thing is, don't write off Broderick Jones just because he's struggling now. He's not right. Yeah, there's some rumors that it was more like a Kevin Dotson thing. He didn't come in as prepared as he should have been, or if he's in the best shape, blah, blah, blah. These are all rumors. I'm not going to how do I say it? It's wrong to not even acknowledge that it's out there, but I'm not going to verify that it's true. All right. Sometimes it's not always a straight line. And with someone that was as raw as he was, we shouldn't be shocked if he's having some setbacks. What should shock us is if that he can't recover from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what that is. All right. This week, here's what's interesting, Rich. This is the second to last possible game of the Steelers' schedule where they could be two teams that are undefeated facing off.
Okay.
Here's why. If you look at all the opponents that the Steelers still have to play, there are only two of them that are currently 2-0. One of which is the Chargers. And the other one would be, on Christmas Day, the Chiefs. So if both the Steelers and the Chiefs could get to week 17 undefeated, that could be an undefeated matchup, which the likelihood of either of them doing that is very, very low.
But
Even
if
though
they
the Chiefs
do,
just won the Super Bowl.
but if they do,
that'd be crazy.
No, if they do, the 1972 Dolphins will be very, very nervous.
That's a bad Christmas for them because no matter what, one of them is
Going to be
going
playing
to
the last week. Yep.
But that's the thing. So you have to look at this as like, wow, if you want to go by record, now it's a 2-week sample. I mean, my goodness, the Steelers are 2-0. Any of these 2-0 teams could very soon be 2-4. You know, any of them, the Steelers, any of them. It's just how it is. But right now, there's only two games left, two teams on the Steelers schedule for the rest of the season that are currently 2-0. And they both are in the AFC West. So this is a pretty good matchup. The Steelers, hey, this is a Nance Romo matchup. That's the announcers for this week.
Okay.
That shows you what kind of matchup this is early in the season. So out of all those teams, I thought for a while it was going to be and Philly, and then boy did that change on me at the very last minute. I was already checking off people was winning in the survivor pool. And I had to go back and change my numbers. There's exactly 50 entries left. 50 out of 150 after 2 weeks. So just in case people were wondering. So anything you want to say about this week, or you want to get to the scores?
Just
Or do you want to say it's part of your score?
I don't have a whole lot to talk about matchup wise here because I think we talked about some of our questions and some of those things in earlier stuff. So really just you know.
Because honestly, I'm going to try to quote Mike Tomlin. I have it written down here somewhere. Where is it? Wait, that's from Denver. Oh, I messed it up. We're still in the growth and development stage. In other words, it's still more about what the Steelers are doing than their opponent. They just have to be able to match up and match blows with them. So, and honestly, this is there's a lot of familiarity there because of the offensive coordinator for the Chargers being the former offensive coordinator of the Ravens and having so many former Ravens that are there on the offense. These are not strangers to the Steelers. Right. The Steelers know how to stop a Greg Roman offense. They've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Now let's see if they can do it with some different personnel. So, all right. Now remember, don't put your score in there yet until I put it out there because Rich is going to give us his. Then I'll actually put the word in the live chat and I will bring up everybody's score. What do you got, Rich?
All right. So if I do recall, I got to double check this one, but I believe our brother-in-law and our nephew might be going to this game on Sunday.
I know where brother-in-law is. I transferred him the tickets last night.
Yeah,
Because-
and I
because we
think
share
he's,
his
I,
needs.
I think he's taking Warren with him.
Yes,
So,
I think he is too.
so they'll be there in stadium. Good for them. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting game. It's going to be really hard to see. This is really going to be, to me, truly that, you know, can the defense do what they need to do?
Yep.
And that this is going to be another one where can the defense do what they need to do, and can the offense then do just enough?
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping that the Steelers don't let this turn into a bit of a letdown game after starting 2-0 on the road.
I don't want them to be comfortable at home. Because that sometimes I'm worried about that. So I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, this is one of those where if it's a Steelers win, it's going to be a low scoring close game. If it's a Chargers win, they probably blow us out of the water.
Or score, meaning it's a higher scoring game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meaning it's a higher scoring game, meaning that the Steelers have probably made some mistakes here and there to allow things to get to a higher scoring game. I'm going to go ahead and stick with a Steelers win, though, just because right now I'm feeling optimistic, and I'm never going to pick against the Steelers on their home opener. I don't.
Gotcha.
I did it last year, and I hated doing it last year. Actually, no. Let me rephrase that. I didn't last year and should have, if I remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's. I'm just going to look at this one and go with what I see. So I'm going to go Steelers in this one. I'm going to go Steelers. Like 16-10.
16. Yes. Is that what you went with last week or something? You had a 16-13 in there, yeah.
Yeah, it was 16-13.
Yeah.
But this is going to be another 16-10. Steelers get a touchdown, maybe two, or something. But it's going to be it's going to be low scoring like that for the Steelers to win.
All right, everybody, give me your scores.
Oh, wait,
Here we go.
hold on.
Go ahead and say it. I just
with a chance at the very end of the game for the quarterback of the Chargers to throw the Hail Mary deep into the end zone. It looked like it's going to be caught, but eventually hits the turf.
so we can see Harbaugh say, I thought he caught it.
Yes, exactly. So, which, by the way, somebody brought up in the live chat earlier. I love it. Does this mean that we can refer to Jim as wing harbs, since we have wang harbs?
I don't know.
I don't know, but talk to Brian about that.
I wanted to say Big Wang and Little Wang, but Brian
Big
has
Wang.
that. But that's what's interesting, that they play Harbaugh's team that he coaches this week, and then the next week they go on the road to play Harbaugh's old team.
Yeah.
So sometimes I forget who they play after that. So here we go. Steel Dog 88 says 1916 Steelers. Remember, if you just say numbers, I'm going to assume Steelers unless you say otherwise. Wes says 29-19 Pittsburgh. Thomas Riley has 24 Steelers 24, Chargers 16. How do I say? Yarsharel?
Yeah.
Yasharel. Okay, you're
Yeah,
probably right.
you were putting an extra R in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. Yasharel. Yeah. Says Steelers 21, Chargers 17. Gave some other
31.
details there.
17,
31.
31.
Oh, I said the wrong number. All right. Steeler Chick 46 has Steelers 24, Chargers 17. Eric Weidman. That's Weidman. That's going to be Weidman, right? Yeah. I mess it up all the time. 20-10 Steelers. Afton Ford says 13-12 Steelers. Steelers Pittsburgh says 17-15 Steelers. Mr. Woodsize says Steelers 19-17. Valley Ford says 20-16 Steelers. Pittsburgh Toddy says Steelers 23-9. Knight Rider 16 says 17-14 Steelers. Brian Brown has 31-26 Steelers. I don't know why. It's just there. Reginald Rivers has 23-19 Steelers. 23-19.
We have a 23-19.
Okay. Melissa Topsy. Hopefully I said that right. I I missed it. When I
No,
went to click on
there
it.
you go.
Says 17-10 Steelers. BF Bud, how's it going, BF Bud? It's been a while, or not as often as it had been. 27-13, go Steelers. I'm not going to read the whole thing with it, but Urban Wedge, if you go to the very end of it, says 11-10 Bolts. I'll be honest with you, I'd be surprised if it's a low-scoring game if it's not the Steelers. I think they just need to do it there. Afton's been asking about what's the deal with Herbert. We don't know. I don't know until we won't know tomorrow. And I don't even know who the Chargers. Was it Stedman? Is that who came in? Or was that? Or am I thinking about who came in Miami? Or with Miami? I can't remember. Because he was only in for a couple plays. I'm probably wrong. I completely messed that up, I'm sure. Gavin Anthony says Chargers 24-21. Says it could go either way. Sherry Richards says 20-16 Steelers. Brian Morrow says 24-13 Steelers. Easton, yeah, they're giving it to Schnickham or whatever it is the backup or whatever it was. Jamie Carlo says Steelers 23-13. Jeff Volan says 23 or Steelers 23-16. Mark Tobin says 27-13 Steelers. No one you know says 24-16 Chargers. Feels like a trap game. I am surprised that the Steelers are favored right now. I think they're favored by like 2.5, something like that. So it's funny because Tyler W says Steelers have terrible records in home opener. They go through stretches. They really do.
Yep.
Like I was like 2015 when they crushed the 49ers is one that stands out for me. B Smiles 84 says Steelers 23-16. Let's see. Nathan Smith says 24-13 Steelers. And that's all I see. So I want to say here before we go, Rich, and as I wait to see if here we go. Tyler W now says Chargers 17-16. If any more come in, I'll make sure that we get them here before the end. But I do want to say this. I still have my Monday night, I believe, New York Giants tickets available.
Yep, that's a Monday night.
Bottom section, 122 crew. It's 15 rows up in the closed end of the stadium, although both ends are closed. The one that's got an upper deck in that end of the stadium. If you reach out to me from the podcast, I'll give you the friends and family price on that one. It's 2 tickets. Just reach out to me if you don't. Rich, do you still have your Cowboys tickets?
I still have Dallas Cowboy tickets. Again, if you reach out to me or Dave to get to me, you're going to get. I'm to the point where I'm about ready to give what I consider to be a heck of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, a heck of a deal compared to what the tickets are going for in my section.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this. The last I checked, I'll have to double check with him. I do also have a friend who's first year season ticket holder. His tickets are several sections over from mine. He's in the corner, but the same end of the stadium as me. Corner on the visitor side, I'm pretty sure, with some nice seats there. He has the Christmas Day Chiefs game. The last he told me. So if you're interested in that one, I can reach back out and make sure that's still available. But like I said, that takes a special circumstance for someone to want to go to that game. Some people, that's a great game. Some people, not so much. So I didn't see any other scores there. Make sure you're checking out all of our podcasts. We'll have our normal lineup for you all the way up to game time and beyond. Post-game show might look a little bit different this week. We'll explain when we get there. No, it's just who will be on the show for that reason, because it's actually a pretty funny story. But and make sure you check out SteelCurtainNetwork.com with lots of good stuff going on there. Rich, what do you have to say to close out here tonight?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to make just a couple quick points, a couple non-football related and some football related. Non-football related, Kyle swung by next to Dave, our old stomping grounds today in the big metropolis of Bittinger to pick up my deer meat. My freezer is nice and full again.
There you go. It'll be a
phenomenal.
while till you have another one to put behind you, right?
Yeah.
Since it might not go behind you, it might go somewhere
Yeah, it's not
else.
going to go behind me. But anyway, so how great is that? Guess what we're having for dinner tomorrow night? There you go. Let's see. What was my next thing? Oh, Friday. Get to hang out with some SCN crew.
Yeah, if you get
so-
okay. The live tweeting should happen again for those of you that are part of the Ride or Die crew with one Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman. Make sure you're tuning in for that.
Are we going to live tweet?
Yeah, he
from that
live
day?
tweeted when him and I did a 2-man scramble.
Oh, it's going to be
Talking
fun.
about the one before, so we're gonna. That was 2-man 9 holes. We're looking at the 4-man 18 holes.
holes. Yes, and
Yeah.
looking forward to that, but also then looking forward to Sunday, being able to get to see Steeler football again, back when God intended football to be played at 1:00 on Sunday. The only downside, and it was a really good bright side for me, with the Steelers playing late this past weekend, I got up super early on Sunday and hit the lake for some fishing, which it was really fun. It was just me by myself. So as I told Renee, I went out and I had church by myself on the boat. So
There you go.
good time. But now the boat's under the weather. Why? Because I broke the key off in the ignition. So, but you know what? I threw all that aside after that happened. Had fun doing a knee-jerk reaction article. Although, can I say this, though? When the Steelers are playing this a little bit, I don't want to say less exciting brand of football that we get sometimes.
That's a good way to put it. Less exciting brand.
Yeah, less exciting brand of football at times. It makes the knee-jerk so much harder to write.
Yeah, there's just not as much to put in there.
There's just not as much to talk about.
But remember this, Rich. It might not be the most exciting brand of football, but this will wrap up the whole show here. You've got to remember, would you rather be 2-0 with a less exciting brand of football or 0-2 with all kinds of exciting? I've watched too many games, exciting games of the Steelers, where it was exciting, but they lost. I think about that Thursday night game in Minnesota where they almost hit Pratt Firemuth for the touchdown. I think of that game where John Bostic was on Keenan Allen against the Chargers in Pittsburgh. Some really exciting games. And it was exciting. It was captivating, but it was losses.
Yeah,
And for me,
that's right.
give me the boring win over the exciting loss.
Yeah, because, like, who would you rather be right now? Us or the Ravens or the Bengals? I'd rather be the Steelers right now. And I think the Steelers would rather be the Steelers right now, too. And they just are itching to get out for that home opener at Acrisure Stadium the same way I'm itching for that home opener. Can't wait.
You gotta just chill out, man.
Can't wait.